The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom.
And Father Cory Sticha. Hey, Father Cory.
How's it going?
Folks, before we get into today's show, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network that I'm sure you're going to enjoy called The Secrets of Middle Earth, which you can find wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Middle Earth. And also, before we get into today's show, our main topic of discussion today is an article that was in the New York Times this past week on girl influencers, underage girls on platforms like Instagram and men stalking them. It might be disturbing, but it's an important topic that we need to discuss. But I just want to put a little bit of a warning out there that maybe you want to, if it's something that is too disturbing for you, if you have issues with hearing discussions about that sort of thing, you might want to skip ahead, about halfway through the show to the rest of the show. But it's important. And before we get to that, I do want to we have a little special discussion we want to have where I want to invite Joanne to tell us all about her recent experience doing a demo of the new Apple Vision Pro, which is out there. Joanne, tell us about what you did and how others might be able to do it too, but also your experience.
Well, just a disclaimer, I did not buy one. Okay. But not because of the price. Okay. We'll leave that right there for now. But they said, if you want to come in for a demo, I signed up for a demo. I get in there and they greet you right away. Although they did leave me sitting for a bit, which is normal at the Apple Store in Providence because it's the only one in the area and it's very, very busy. But I was led over to a table. There was the Vision Pro in its little case. And what intrigued me immediately from how the genius was setting me up was that as he's explaining it, he's telling me, I am going to be watching everything that you are on my iPad. So that's how they set up the demo. Mm-hmm. They can control the demo by using an iPad. So if you get yourself lost in something, they can get you out real fast.
Interesting.
I did tell him right up front that I do get motion sick. So immediately he said, okay, we won't do this. We won't do this. We won't do this, which is, immediately they're being very attentive about it. But it's just like the other ones out there. It fits on your head. And I don't remember from the times that I've worn other ones, but you can actually twist it. There's a knob. You can twist the knob and it actually gets, more tighter. Compressed on your head. Yeah, it gets tighter.
Yeah, the Quest does that too. Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that's pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
It has a digital crown just like a watch. So that does a lot of the controlling. That's on the right-hand side. The first thing it does when you put it on is it starts to measure. It wants to measure your eyes first. So there's a series of prompts that you go through. And then it wants to measure your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So you put your hands in a certain position and it measures your hands. Does this sound familiar to just about what the others do? Because I can see the shaking of the heads here.
Yeah. So the Quest doesn't measure your eyes, doesn't do any of the and it doesn't care about your hands because it uses controllers. I don't know about the Quest 3 or the Quest Pro. I haven't used those. I think the Quest Pro can use just your hands. And in fact, there is a mode where you can use just your hands with even the Quest 2 that I have. But it's not as good as the Vision Pro. Clearly is much better at it. So, but it doesn't measure that stuff.
Yeah. And this is the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. Measuring your hands is measuring your eyes because it's putting things in your field of vision.
Yes.
Instead of completely covering your field of vision.
Right.
Like VR does.
It can do both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, most of the time I was in augmented reality, which I prefer.
Yeah.
I like to know what's going on around me. The battery snaps in. It's not any kind, it's almost like a MagSafe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now, and it's a circle.
Yep.
So it just snaps right into the headset.
So if it snags on something, it'll just come right out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So if you go too far, if you go too far, it does pop out. Yes. It wasn't as heavy as I thought it might be, because I was hearing people say, you're going to be wearing this heavy thing on your face, but it wasn't a Geordie visor either.
Yeah.
So, I did have a slight headache afterwards, and I had it on for about 40 minutes.
Did you have just the one strap or the one that had the strap that went over the top of your head?
No, just the one.
Yeah.
The one over the top of the head. They had it there, and I was like, no, I think I can do it with this.
I've heard that it's much better. It's much less fatiguing if you have the one that goes over the top.
Probably because of the distribution of weight.
Yeah.
Yep.
More than likely.
Yep.
I didn't use any corrective lenses,
Mm-hmm.
and I do have both corrective lenses for distance and near. I just wanted to see what it would look like. Distance was no problem. Near, it got a little icky.
Okay.
So I could tell that I could still read it because I'm so used to squinting when things like that happen. But I can see, reading menus, because the menus would drop down. I had no problem. Reading a web page was a little different. I could tell I had to do the pinch, which is different than the regular pinch on an iPad, to get it to be a little bit bigger. But the home screen, it has a home screen. Looks like, I'd say it's similar to Apple CarPlay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to that later. It's similar to Apple CarPlay, where everything is, the ones that they have are there. And I had no problems when it was in AI. As I'm going through everything and they're showing me, touch this, do that. They went through the gestures. Gestures are a little different. But then again, every single one of these products has different gestures.
Right.
They're similar, but they're just slightly different between an iPad and an iPhone or even a Mac. Right. So, but they put me in different places, which is really freaky when you're standing on a cliff, and I'm like, gee, my husband wouldn't be able to do this because he's afraid of heights. It's real. The immersive video is spectacular, but when it goes into 360, I get sick. So that's when he stopped it. He said, okay, we won't keep you there, but to see everything come at you, as if you're right in the middle of it, is amazing. Right. That's that stuff. I was really interested in the productivity version of this. Mm-hmm. What's numbers going to look like? What's pages going to look like? Keynote. And Keynote was the funkiest thing, because they will have you can practice your presentation on a stage.
Oh, cool.
So they'll put you on a stage, and you can be like Tim Cook, good morning, and do your whole thing. But it was so easy for me to transfer my knowledge of numbers, pages, and Keynote into this environment. And when I saw the little keyboard come up, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Mm-hmm. But the good thing about it too is you can pair it with your MacBook Pro, and it is your display. Right. It becomes your display. So you can sit there with a MacBook in front of you and type on real keys, and it will come up on the glasses themselves. Right. That's what I was interested in, because something like this, for someone like me, I'm not a gamer, and I've said that here a million times. I'm not a gamer. I'm not into all of that. But to be able to work in an environment and keep other things out of my peripheral and just work, that, to me, that's a game changer. I told the Genius, I said, this is the future of computing, but you're going to get more out of it than I will.
You know,
because if you can do all of those different things in one environment.
I know there's one podcaster that I listen to, David Sparks. He talks about he has a writing cabin in Yosemite, which is he gets into this environment where he's in Yosemite. It looks like he's in Yosemite, and he's got his writing, app in front of him, and he's got a Bluetooth keyboard and a Magic Trackpad paired to and he's just there, and he's in this distraction-free environment in Yosemite. Yeah. He's there, and he can work without, people walking to his field of view and that sort of stuff. I mean, I can imagine like on an airplane or that sort of thing. That would be really, great to see. So it is interesting. It is interesting, by the way, that in addition to using the computer or using the keyboard and the Magic Trackpad, it doesn't pair with Bluetooth mice for whatever reason. They did not include mice. It's kind of interesting that they didn't do that, but.
Oh, come on, they're Apple. Yeah. Let's take a beat here.
Yeah.
They're Apple. They're going to want to sell you all their products.
Right. I mean, they still sell their mouse, but it doesn't pair with the mouse, which is interesting. So it's $3,500 base, you can upgrade it. And Joanne, it sounds like you're in agreement with a lot of the pundits, which is this is for people who are early adopters. This is not the version for most people to get. 99% of people should wait until at least the next version is out. This is Apple trying to figure out, how to do this best. This is like the original iPhone, which didn't do apps, didn't have cut and paste, it barely took a photo, it was very stripped down. It was Apple's first, go at a phone. And it was really wasn't until the iPhone 3GS, I think it was where it really became a phone for the masses. And I think, Vision Pro 2 or whatever that is going to be, sounds like the one that if someone's serious, maybe that's the one they should start thinking about.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't pay for this at this price.
Yeah.
It would have to come down, and for me would have to get a little lighter. But I will say this, in looking around at the other people who were in the demos with me, many of them were my age or older. Okay, if you can believe that. And a couple of them I overheard said they were developers.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is a developer product for them to create for, these people want to create for this product line. But the older people, I think, are thinking more like me, where it can be both something that we can be productive, and if we want to watch a movie, fine. Because you can watch a movie in them. I mean, the sound is great. Surprisingly enough, and I didn't have AirPods in. No,
they have these little things right above your ear that they've been spending so much time. Apple's been figuring out the audio thing. It's really I've heard it's amazing.
So it is amazing, but not $3,500 worth of amazing for me.
Sure. Yeah. So others, if the listeners want to get a demo, you just go to the Apple website and for your local store, you find your local store and you can sign up for a demo, or you go to the Apple Vision Pro page, and I'm sure there's a link there to go and sign up for a demo. Anyone can do it. It takes 20 minutes, half hour. If you've got glasses, they'll scan your glasses to get the right inserts for them, and so they really get this down, this whole process down.
And no pressure to buy.
Yeah,
absolutely no pressure to buy.
Yeah. That's always been one of my favorite things about the Apple Store is that it's not like some other stores where the employees wear blue shirts, shall we say, where there's a huge, are you sure you don't want to buy this today? Because they're working off commission and all that sort of stuff. I never feel pressure to buy anything at an Apple store. And I do appreciate that because everything there is expensive and I want everything in it. So I don't want the pressure. I actually have plans to at some point get a demo myself because I just want to see what it's like.
Yeah, but I know you're afraid.
Going on to a longer discussion that we're not going to have now.
Yeah.
But I really wonder, you say like the next generation. I don't even see the next generation. And it was just actually going off a point I'd heard on MacBreak Weekly with the Twit Network, that Google Glass had the right idea, just bad implementation.
Right.
It's when these devices, because this augmented reality, especially not so much the virtual reality, when they go from the oversized ski goggles that they are now to where you can wear them basically with regular glasses, where they're regular glasses in factor, that's when augmented reality is going to take off. Because then you could be sitting in your office and put on just a pair of glasses, or if you've got prescription glasses like we do, then you just have your glasses and it just shows up on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's when it's going to take off. People, I don't see there being a big push to people haul these things on airplanes, sitting in offices with rows and rows of people at desks with Google or with Apple Vision Pro on their face.
Right.
But again, when it's you're working in an office environment and you're using glasses and you see your desk and everything, that's when things like this are going to take off.
I could see it replacing laptops before desktop, because I could see something more portable than the Vision Pro. So we'll just say like 5 years down the road, I can see them selling a lot of these for people who want to work in a coffee shop or work on a plane or on the go. I don't see this as a desktop replacement right away, but I do love the idea of you can have a screen as big as you want. And you can have stuff everywhere. But you're right, Father Cory. It's got to get lighter. The battery's got to get integrated. It's got to be less of a big, bulky nerd helmet, as Leo Laporte likes to call it, and more sleek. And the price has to come down, because there's no way. If you compare it to a MacBook Pro, $3,500 is not crazy. Like $3,000, $2,500. $2,500 is probably the range of a MacBook Pro. Now we're talking like that's something that people might be willing to do. They sell a lot of MacBook Pros at that price. Let's put it that way.
But now does this run on its own, or does it need something like an iPad or a MacBook Pro to run it?
Runs on its own.
Completely,
unless you're doing the things like the working on your keyboard and stuff. Okay.
Well, no, you can still work with a keyboard and a trackpad without a computer. Like it's only when it has a mode where you can take your computer's screen.
Well, sorry. I'm trying to keep us from going off on distractions.
But I will say two things. One, it is wonderful to have all of these little windows floating around in your purview, so that you can go back to them, and it's a wonderful sight. And two, if they're going to make it lighter, and I don't mean to make fun of anything, those glasses that the older folks wear that have the side things on them?
Right.
That's the type of glass I could see, because you still want to have that 360 if you need it.
Yeah.
Because of the windows.
The blinders.
Yeah, you need the blinders. Yes.
My concern with that, and I think would be a lot of people's concerns, is security. If you've got blinders on and all you're seeing is whatever your display is, you have no peripheral vision. Someone can sneak up on you and take stuff, things like that.
I think it's the difference between wearing it around all the time versus wearing it when you're visibly doing it. So those are
an office or something like that.
Yeah, those
don't drive with it.
Don't drive. Right. Yeah, they're already
someone already got busted for it.
They're already passing laws in Massachusetts about not wearing it while you're driving, which it's legislating common sense. All right, I do want to move on because we spent a lot of time on that. I want to talk about this other topic that we've got for today, and this is an article that appeared in the New York Times this past week as we record, and the headline is let me get to the top. A marketplace of girl influencers managed by moms and stalked by men. The stories about this trend is a lot of these underage girls. So under the age of 18, anywhere from 5, 6 years old up to 17, who have these Instagram accounts that are usually managed by moms, where they're influencers, and they are generally shown in whether dance outfits, swim attire, or just revealing clothing in general. That in many cases, as they say, other girls follow them, and it's about fashion, but there is a large and perhaps growing portion of their audience which are men who are attracted to children. Let's put it that way. Gross. The article starts with giving an example of this one mom who's been running her daughter's Instagram account since 2020, when she was 11, which is too young, by the way, to have an account of your own. That's the thing. She has more than 100,000 followers, and some of them pay $9.99 a month for more photos. And she started getting creepy messages from men, including this one guy who started trying to blackmail her into providing more explicit photographs and videos. And you say, oh, that's gross. These moms, let's block it. But there's also talks about how there are moms who are trying to be diligent about blocking creepy men, and others who apparently see them as a revenue source. So before we get deep into this, just your initial thoughts from both of you on this story and why we're talking about it.
Well, one thing we talked about before we started recording is this is not a new thing. If you remember back in, was it the 90s, the JonBenet Ramsey case in Colorado, where she was involved. I didn't realize this until this case started back then, that there was actually like child beauty pageants. Yeah. And like these are 5, 6, 7-year-old kids that are doing these beauty pageants. So this isn't a new thing. This shouldn't surprise people. The idea, though, that a child becomes an influencer and its mom doing it is absolutely immoral, in my opinion. At 11 years old, that child should be, the worst thing that child should be worried about is which dress is she going to wear to school today, and what are they going to do after school with her friends.
Right. Yeah. There's other trends involved in this, like the trend in the from stores like Target and others to sell more and more revealing adult styled clothing for younger and younger girls and that sort of thing. Joanne, your overall impression of this story?
I felt it was one that we needed to talk about because you don't get into this. I don't think a typical mom gets into this by saying, oh, I think I'm going to exploit my child. I think they get into it by being influenced themselves by other things and media and social media, but even television shows that have glorified this stuff, and they think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Well, yeah, it can.
That's how it happens.
And that's why right. And that's the beauty of the devil, folks. It's not going to happen to me. No way. I'm smart. Right. Sure. Invite trouble.
So I want to, mention some excerpts from the story just to highlight them. It says thousands of accounts examined by the Times offer disturbing insights into how social media is reshaping childhood, especially for girls, with direct parental encouragement and involvement. Some parents are the driving force behind the sale of photos, exclusive chat sessions, and even the girls' worn leotards and cheer outfits to mostly unknown followers. The most devoted customers spend thousands of dollars nurturing the underage relationships. They mentioned just even one account where a photo that was only available to subscribers who spent $100 a month or higher on a subscription had 140 likes on it, which meant that they were getting at least $14,000 a month in subscription revenue, undoubtedly a lot more. So the large audiences boosted by men can benefit the families, the Times found. The bigger followings look impressive to brands and bolster chances of getting discounts, products, and other financial incentives. And the accounts themselves are rewarded by Instagram's algorithm with greater visibility on the platform, which in turn attracts more followers. So that's another aspect of the story, which is the complicity of the platforms of, in this case, Meta, but TikTok is also another place where this happens too, I'm sure. But Meta, which owns Instagram, is also complicit in this because they reward these accounts with more views, showing it to more of the sorts of persons who are clicking on it. And then in some cases, punishing moms who try to limit access to creepy men. As some of them reported, if a parent blocks too many follower accounts in a day, Meta curtails their ability to block or follow us, puts them in Facebook jail basically for a while because, you're blocking too many accounts. I don't understand that, frankly, but lots of the things that Facebook does are inscrutable, frankly. It also reports that account owners who report explicit images or potential predators to Instagram are typically met with silence or indifference. It seems like there's a lot of blame to go around in this. There's the parents who the word pimping comes to mind. I know that's crude, but who are putting their daughters out there for this potential, probably with good intentions for most, probably with bad intentions for some, undoubtedly. Mm-hmm. But those even the good intentions, I think, are imprudent.
It's exploitation. So I think pimping might be a strong version of it, but it's the same idea. I can't imagine a mom sitting there saying, hey, let's put these pictures of my, it's one thing to throw up pictures of your daughter, your son, your child, your dog, your family as your, hey, we're at Yosemite Park and let's, stand in front of this right. tree and take a picture, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Obviously, that's not what these are. These are modeling shoots is basically what they end up being.
Yes.
And I can't imagine any sane parent sitting there saying, I'm going to put this out there and let strangers pay me to see these. I can't see that. And when you look at the lives of how many child TV and movie stars over the years that have been just been destroyed because of this mindset in Hollywood. And then now you put it in every parent's pocket in their cell phone, the capability to do that. That just makes it all the worse.
It's the fact that parents are doing this and then in some cases seeing what's happening, the grossness, the absolute disgusting men who show up in these things, seeing it and going, yeah, but I can't let a few bad apples ruin everything. Like, it only takes is one bad apple.
well, it's this influencer mindset. I despise that word. I absolutely despise that word of saying, so-and-so is a social media influencer.
Yeah.
There's nothing good that comes after that word.
Right. According to the article, nearly 1 in 3 preteens list influencing as a career goal, 30%. And 11% of those born in Gen Z between 97 and 2012 describe themselves as influencers now. Like, it's just like, what do you contribute? Like, I mean, we're in a sense, we would be lumped in as influencers in the sense of we make digital content for distribution online, but that's not nearly the same thing as what they're doing. And I just, you think of examples like Charli D'Amelio, who's really famous on YouTube and previously on, I think it was TikTok. She started, young girl, started dancing, doing dance stuff on there. And, now she's really big and all these girls look up to her and go, oh, I want to be just like her and be famous and rich. And then you look into there's been reporting on details of how her family life is like these old Hollywood child actors things. It's just these horrific results of it and the stalking and all of the nonsense. So there's one mom who in the article says, I really don't want my child exploited on the internet, said Kaylin, a mother in Melbourne, Australia. And she says, but she's been doing it so long now. Her numbers are so big. What do we do? Just stop it and walk away?
Yes.
Done.
Yes. Done.
Simple answer.
Yeah.
Especially when you go on to the next line, she said.
Right. Her daughter, who's now 17, said, she said that of her daughter, who's now 17, she's worried that a childhood spent sporting bikinis online for adult men has scarred her. She's written herself off. There's a quote from the mom. She's written herself off and decided that the only way she's going to have a future is to make a mint on OnlyFans, which is another scourge upon the earth. That's a whole nother discussion.
But there's cooks on there. Yeah, no.
Yeah, not
that's
anymore.
Not the primary purpose why people go to OnlyFans.
Yeah. It started off as something else and it's become, where's the entire, this girl sees her worth in her appearance, right? This is what you've done and so many girls with this sort of stuff, this sort of social media is you've told them your only worth is in your beauty, your appearance, and how men in large part see you. And that is horrible. And it makes me wonder, what does this do to society and to the men that my own girls who are not involved in any of this, that they are going to encounter? Like, this isn't just about the girls who are doing this, but about all society. And this is the larger porn discussion as well. What does it do to our society? It's frightening and it's disturbing. I don't know, what else to say about that.
And I blame the Kardashians because the Kardashians are the first ones who did this. They put their lives out on television and then started to market themselves in different ways. They started a lot of this.
Yeah. I'd argue that the seeds of this go earlier, but I think the Kardashians, you could say, were the first who were famous for being famous
on social media, especially.
They do nothing else but be famous. Right. But if you really want to, this is again, and as a woman, I'll start playing the woman card here. This is another way of exploiting women. This has gone on for centuries and millennia, where a woman is used, as a bargaining chip. Young women were used to get good marriages so that their families could be aligned. So this is this is just the modern stretch of it, right. And who gets hurt here? The women.
Mm-hmm. The girls. Some people try to claim it's female empowerment, but that doesn't empower. It's it's turning you into an object. It's dehumanizing and objectifying. It's not power.
Whoever tried that argument was a man, because that's the one way. No offense, gentlemen, but when you see this.
The worst part is it isn't just men that say that.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
There are women who believe that. Especially the women who are on things like OnlyFans, who are doing pornography for a career. That's what they say. Oh, I'm doing it because it's empowering to me. And it's been said for years. Unfortunately, even former, staunch feminists have been trying to promote this line too.
Right.
But it's mostly men that will say that. It is mostly men who will say that. I'll admit that.
Yeah, but the women have bought into it. Because they figure the only way they're going to get power is to do the same thing. But you're not getting power, ladies. You have your own power. Use your own power. Don't use what somebody else tells you, especially a man, that you have this power, or you have to beat a man at his own game. Don't do it.
So another player in this game, another responsible party to this are the brands that sponsor these girls. So you have activewear and dancewear and cheerleader, brands that are paying thousands of dollars to these girls to wear their stuff and influence, to advertising. They quote one of the brand owners who pays girls to wear their stuff when they're confronted, like, don't you feel bad about using these girls who are being, viewed by these gross men to sell your stuff? And one of them says, I'll quote here, "The Bible says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous," he said. "So sometimes you got to use the things of this world to get you where you need to be, as long as it's not harming anybody." Okay,
I can come up with a lot more Bible verses to respond to that.
Me too.
Yeah, mammon is the root of all evil.
You can't serve God and mammon.
Yes.
It was to give up your life for the world.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Blanking on the exact verse, but
It's like, no, you don't get to use the tools of the devil for, the ends do not justify the means. That's really what it boils down to. And that's what you're claiming. The Bible doesn't tell us that the end justifies the means. And this is, that's just self-justification. That's a guy probably who deep down knows what he's doing is wrong. And maybe this interview with the Times will give him a little prick of conscience. But he knows what he's doing. He's trying to justify it. And that's the thing. There's so many people, different. It's not just the moms. It's not just these gross men. It's not just the platforms. It's not just the brands. It's all of them. And unfortunately, the victims in all of this are the poor girls who are being exploited and dehumanized.
But they don't know it, because it's like that frog sitting in the pan with water, and you're turning up the heat.
Yeah.
And if you've seen some of what this type of clothing is. Now, I've been doing pictures, and I've been going back to high school and seeing cheerleading uniforms from, 1970 to 75, and take a cheerleader uniform from that era, which really isn't too far away if you think about it.
Yep.
And one of now, there is way less material. I mean, I went to a Catholic girls' high school. We used to shorten our skirts and hike them up. There is still way less material now that some of these girls are wearing for these outfits, and and they think this is grown up. Oh, I'm going to look like and because I'm going to look like the Stars or the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders or something like that. It's they want to grow up so fast. Please let these kids be kids.
Well, that's another part.
They don't know what it's like to be a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what it's like to just play and make up things, and they don't. They go right into business, making money for the fam.
There's a large element of vicarious living as well. I've seen it when I worked in youth ministry years ago, of parents wanting to live vicariously through their child, who, whether it's sports,
sports
or
is a big one.
Relationships with other kids. Why don't you date more? You should, whether it's to the boy or the girl, you should date that girl. Oh, look how handsome her boyfriend is. Look how beautiful his girlfriend is. And there's this like, look, dude, your years are way in the past. Those glory days are gone. Stop trying to relive them through your child. Mm-hmm. I get what, like, there is objective good in sports, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have our kids in sports, but we've all, especially parents who have kids in sports, have seen the parents who are overly obsessed with it. And I've seen moms telling girls in my youth group, you need to lose some weight so you can be more attractive to boys. Girls who were perfectly fine, like they did not need to lose weight, but they weren't what the mom thought she should be. And it's and the girls, talking to the female youth ministers that we had, crying their hearts out because mom doesn't like them just the way they are, and mom's not getting it. And so this is just another aspect of that phenomenon. So
and it should be a concern, and why we're talking about it in this podcast is because this is a slope that's not going to go up. No. This is going to keep going worse and worse. Slippery slope is an argument if you say it must happen and you can't stop it. But it's a reality when you say, if we keep going down this path, we will slide further down.
Right. And
there's already an absolute scourge of child pornography out there. It's absolutely disgusting how much is out there. And it's only going to get worse as this continues. And these girls are going to slide into it if they're not stopped.
Right. So what can we do? If you're a parent, don't create accounts for your kids that are clearly exploitative. Please and don't try to turn your kid into an influencer. Please don't do that.
Actually, can I change that a little bit? Just don't create an account for your kid. Any pictures of your kids are on a family account.
Right. Well, Delay putting them on social media. Like, I know that you can create an account for them at 13, but to go what you're saying, Father Corey, maybe delay letting them get on social media a while because of all the other issues as well, the bullying and all that other stuff. Frankly, let them wait to have that sort of thing too. I agree with you on that. But also, we need to hold the platforms accountable. Legislatively, especially, I think our Congress and states, legislatures need to start holding them accountable. We need to hold our law enforcement accountable for making sure that they're doing what they can with what they've got to track down the predators. We need to hold these brands accountable and tell them they need to stop doing this. If I ever see a brand exploiting kids like this, I'm going to tell the brand, I am never doing business with you as long as you're exploiting kids. We need to take action ourselves as well in these things.
Brands are stupid. I have to tell you, not only because they're so about the bottom line. That they sacrifice everything. And this says the next words out of my mouth have nothing to do with this particular thing, but it's an object of to show you where we're going with this. This morning, I heard the most stupidest thing from an executive who is the executive of a cereal company who suggested that because of the way people are, prices are so high right now, perhaps families should eat cereal for dinner instead. I went, can we fire that man now? But this is the way of the thinking that goes on. The problem is us. We should change the regular normal person should change our way of doing things because the great mighty influencers and the great and mighty companies are correct.
To quote Charles Dickens, aren't there enough poorhouses to put them in? Like,
yes,
yeah.
It's basically
or let them eat cake.
Yes,
yeah. Well, now to be fair, I doubt any one of us could say that we haven't had cereal for supper, but that was more out. In my case, it was more out of, do I really feel like cooking? No,
right.
But it's
it's true though. I mean, these companies are so focused on their profit, they're so focused on their bottom line, they don't think of the consequences of what they're doing and what they're saying. And these pictures are a good example of that. Again, these young girls being given very sexualized outfits by these companies. And they don't think about, hey, what is this doing to our culture? What is this doing to these kids? What is this doing to our future?
And we can't even say, what if it was their kid? Because they'd probably be putting I don't want to make that general, but you never know. They could be doing it with their own child, and that would be terrible.
Yeah. All right. So, folks, we'd love to hear what you thought of this discussion and the article. We'll have a link in the show notes to a version of the article you can read online, and let us know what you think at technology@sqpn.com. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including John N., Stephanie A., J.M., Jonathan L., and Pam. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So, something a little lighter, shall we say? Let's go to something, but just as dystopian. No, maybe not just as dystopian. So the BBC had a headline recently, an article. It hasn't delivered the spectacular failure of self-checkout technology. And they're talking about how more and more both companies, retailers and customers are getting more and more frustrated with self-checkout. Now, from my point of view, and how some places are pulling self-checkout out, the lines are long. Self-checkout, whenever you see these self-checkout kiosk areas, half of them are often down, and of the ones that are working usually have one or two people waiting for the overworked single employee to come running over to clear out the error code on the kiosk, that sort of thing. And that tracks with me. I do all the food shopping in my family, and the store we go to has handheld scanners, so you can scan as you go, scan and bag as you go, which I love. It cuts a half hour out of my shopping every week. But I get to the self-checkout, and gosh, 3 out of 4 times a month, it pops up an error code when I go to checkout. That is either they need to, the benign one is they need to audit, they need to go through and randomly scan a bunch of stuff, which the staff or the employees usually just scans the most visible things and doesn't bother digging in. Excuse me. But often it's just error code, whatever, blah, 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 and they have to come over and clear it. And the worst ones are, I've had instances where they had to have a manager come and transfer my order to a whole different register, like a special register for the manager to do it. And then this happens a lot. What do you guys think? Do you use self-checkout? Do you prefer a human manned checkout? And have you seen checkout problems in the wild?
I'm one that I prefer the self-checkout, actually, which is funny because the little grocery store we have here in town, small town. Yeah, there's no self-checkout. And there's times where I would rather have the self-checkout because I'm buying like 1 or 2 things, bing, bing, pay, gone, instead of having to sit and visit as much as I enjoy visiting with the cashiers. But some mornings it's just like, I don't want to talk to a person. Yeah. But I've used them quite a bit, and when I can, and there is a lot of convenience to them. Obviously, when you have a dedicated checkout where you can set all your stuff on the belt, go forward, you're there with the card machine ready to go, whatever. And while they're sitting there scanning them, that's a lot of convenience there too. So, and yeah, I've had those problems too, where it's like, rescan that, or the one I hate is, make sure you put it in the bagging area after you have scanned it.
Yes. I hate that
Bingo.
One. Yeah.
Because it's weighing everything, making sure you're putting the right things in there.
Right. Especially like I have like one thing I'm buying. Can I just like hold on to it? Like, no, you got to put it down. Yeah. I
set it next to a bag.
Yeah, exactly. and as much as I hate, the problems, I still prefer self-checkout over going to the regular. Like, I recently had to go through the regular checkout once. I was buying a handful of things I was out with Melanie, and we were at the store, and we just went to a regular thing, and it just took so much longer. It just, like, even just a few things take so much longer with a human checkout. And I know that there are arguments like we should keep people employed, and I don't know. There are lots of jobs that people could be doing, and frankly, they could be using those people elsewhere in the store because there's other issues in the store that I have. So I don't think necessarily, keeping check. Yeah, that would be the same argument for saying we also shouldn't do self-serve gas stations, which I hate. Full-serve gas stations, they take forever. My recent experience driving in New Jersey on the New Jersey Turnpike, waiting a half hour to get my gas filled because I had to wait for the guys. It's like, it was so frustrating. Might as well get a Tesla if I'm going to wait a half hour. Anyway, but I prefer self-checkout. I think it's faster still, even with the problems.
It depends on the store, because some of them have good self-checkout, which means you've got a chance to scan and it's going down the conveyor and it's dropping and you're doing that. Others try to put 6 or 7 scanning stations in a very small area. So now you're in tight with all these other people and you're trying to get things out, and it's not working. Rhode Island now has a ban against plastic bags.
Oh, yes.
Same here in Massachusetts.
So now, so certain stores are charging you 10 cents for a paper bag. So it's asking you up front, do you have any bags? And there's a certain way you put your bag down on it and then press it to let it know that you're putting your own bags down. Because if you don't do that, it starts to get cranky fast.
Interesting.
And it wants to know, and then it wants to charge you money because they're thinking, well, you must be using paper bags. No, I'm not. So here comes the guy over, poor guy. I love it when I see, and it's not always older people, some people who are not good at this kind of stuff trying to use them, and they're there like for half an hour and the line's getting bigger.
Right.
So if we're going to do self-checkout and real check, I like to go to real people when I have a big order, because I feel it's going to be truly a lot faster. But I think we have to take out, I go to one store, there's 18 registers. 3 are being used at any good time, and the rest sit there, and they have, again, this very small area for the self-checkout. Pull some of those other ones out and put in the self-checkout, and I think things would go a lot faster.
Right.
But I think I think in this day and age, there are some people who are going to be comfortable doing that. There's going to be some people comfortable, and then there are stores that don't have any. Go to Market Basket around here, and it's all people.
Yeah.
And little store mom and pop stores, they're just people. So it depends on where you shop.
Yeah. The thing about the 18 registers with 3 of them manned by a person, either fill those registers with people or make more self-checkout, but do one or the other.
And I do like some Walmarts are starting to change over manned registers to self-checkout, where it's still got the conveyor belt and everything. It's still one aisle per register, but you can load up that conveyor belt and then sit there and check yourself out as you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you do have a bigger order, I usually don't. I'm usually not one that goes in and fills up a basket full of stuff. Usually it's more the little hand basket than it is the big cart.
Yeah. So our next headline is from GeekWire. It says a Ring ends the feature that lets police ask users for videos via the Neighbors app. Now, this is very specific to explain. So Ring.com, the Ring doorbell, the Ring security cameras, they have this app called Neighbors, which anyone can download and use. You don't have to be a Ring user. But what it would do is it would allow it gives you alerts when someone posts this, like someone was breaking into my car last night and here's the Ring video footage, or usually it's who's this? Most often it's a stranger walked past my house. Does anyone recognize him? It's just somebody on the street, dude. It's just a guy. Anyway, one feature that used to be there that they've removed was a button that allowed police to in public voluntarily ask you for assistance, request your footage from your camera because they need it for an investigation in the neighborhood, in your neighborhood, that sort of thing. And we're starting to see this on police TV shows all the time, right? I got video doorbell coverage of the crime taking place from across the street, that sort of thing. But they're taking that out. And so now it doesn't mean they won't be able to request footage, but they will have to get a warrant and request footage through Ring of the users. So it's going to be a much more involved process. It's not going to be just a voluntary, in the app, ask for it, which doesn't mean they can't come to your door and ask for it either. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Well, and my town, for example, is now asking us to voluntarily sign up if we want our cameras, our cameras to be used in that way. And I talked to my husband, and we're still on the fence about it. But hell, yeah, if I'll use my camera to catch somebody, if you're gonna, whether it's me or my neighbors. But you need to ask me, and I need to opt in. Just don't put it as a feature of one of these things. And
and to be fair, they had to ask. I mean, even in the old feature, they had to ask you. But I just. I feel like I want to be in control of when and if I hand over, and I don't want to feel pressure to hand it over either. Like, oh, don't you want to be a good citizen? That sort of thing. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
My town it's all voluntary. You can sign up, and then if you can still decide whether or not you're going to give them the footage. They just want to know where the cameras are in case they need them. So they'll come and ask you, yes, there was something on your street. Can we use the footage? Do you have it? Because like my Wise camera, the one on that I have outside, does record all the time. And so does my Ring. So, but some people don't do that. Some people just use them as stationary cameras. So,
I don't have Ring. Mine's a Nest. Of course I'm in the Google world, so it's Nest. But the idea that the police could just use this Neighbors app to ask, I don't see a problem with that. If it's, again, they put out the, hey, we need this, and everybody's Ring app says, police would like to use your footage. Are you willing to do it? I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either, really.
That still gives me the choice.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of concern about creeping invasions of privacy by our law enforcement. That is a real concern, because we do have an expectation of some privacy. We do have a Fourth Amendment that says no unlawful search and seizure. Well, this can be a part of that if it's done illegally. If the police do it without your approval.
Right.
But that being said, these are also resources that the police can use when there are legitimate crimes that they're investigating, and this can help them figure out the whodunit.
Right. I don't want my neighbor's like outdoor security camera that looks into my backyard to be like automatically used by the government. You know what I mean? Just to see what I'm doing in my back. I don't know if I'm doing anything in my backyard, but you know what I mean.
TV series person of interest. You mean?
Right. Exactly. But I don't have a problem with being asked. And I think that's the big thing is I just want to be asked. It's only polite. All right. Before I talk about our next headline, I want everyone listening to think of it in your mind about all of the streaming service subscriptions that you have. And in your mind, come up with an estimate of how much you think you're paying a month for those. And maybe you're really good at this and you know an exact number already because you're good at keeping track. But I'm going to bet that you perhaps don't know how much you're actually paying per month. So here's the story from ZDNet. The average U.S. subscriber pays almost $1,000 a year for streaming subscriptions. So they said a new report found that the average American subscriber pays $924 yearly for subscriptions. That's $77 a month. Moreover, 25% of those surveyed pay $100 a month, and 5% pay $200 a month for streaming services. This is someone with a lot of free time, or a lot of disposable income where they just don't care. So they also go on to talk about how 7% of subscribers have canceled a subscription due to recent price hikes. 36% have upgraded a subscription after an ad-supported version launched, so they don't have to watch the ads. And 67% still feel like they can't afford all the subscriptions they would like. Hey, heck, I'd like all the subscriptions just so that I don't have to worry about whether I can watch a thing or not. So just throw that out to you guys. Joanna, this was your story. Do you care to share how much you're spending a month on subscriptions?
See, this is the thing. They need to take into account, what were you paying for cable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You need to take that into account, because if the average is $924 a year, my average right now is $990.
Okay, that's what you're paying for streaming services. Yep.
Yes, that does not include internet.
Well, that's what I want to add is, yes, I saw some people responding saying, oh, I spent way more than that to cable. Depending on how, like, you're still paying a portion of that for internet. So you have to add that on to that. And so you're still paying for internet access. Right.
And most of mine are, things like, I consider a subscription to channels, the channel guide, because I need that for my Tableau. Okay, because I rather use that than the Tableau one, but Tableau would still cost me $5 a month.
Right.
So and then all of these apps that I have are all of these specials that you get around Black Friday. So I plug into all of those, and a lot of cord cutters do. Black Friday is like Christmas, because you're sitting there saying, okay, who's going cheap, who isn't?
Right.
And then, so, I mean, if you were paying top dollar, that price would be about, I would say, be somewhere between $100 and $200 a month if you were just paying the regular price. And then you have to consider ad supported or ad free.
Right.
But I can say for myself and my home, $990 is the number. For me. And I've got Max, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Sling, which is the most expensive of all of them, PBS, and channels. And that's besides the internet.
Right.
So, and Paramount Plus, sorry.
Yeah, I have Netflix, Paramount Plus, BritBox. A couple of those are for work. Paramount Plus and BritBox are Star Trek and Season of Doctor Who. Those Apple TV Plus, which is part of my Apple One subscription, Amazon Video, which is part of my Amazon Prime account, which I use for other things as well. Disney Plus, Star Wars. Gotta have that. I have Netflix. I'm not sure why. Like I still watch a few things on Netflix. My wife watches a few things on Netflix, but I keep thinking, like, why am I
toggle? Go in it. They keep your list for 9 months.
Yeah.
So if you toggle in and out, the meter starts again. So just toggle in and out of it. I think that's what most cord cutters do. We get rid of what we don't need for a time. Like I have Apple TV Plus right now till the end of the Patriots dynasty.
Yes, I've been watching that
documentary, and then I'm getting rid of it. But some people have T-Mobile. Yeah. They get it through T-Mobile. They get it through other accounts. It's hard, but you can. It's still cheaper.
I don't toggle. I should, cable. But I don't. Yeah.
Well, I just signed up again for Netflix after decades. Darn near. I mean, I haven't had Netflix since you still could get the DVDs. But yeah. But the only reason why I did is for the new Avatar Last Airbender series, which is fantastic. Just binge that. So now I'm going, okay, well, so what else are we going to watch here this month before the subscription ends?
Right.
Because I've only had it for a week. But yeah, I'm definitely over $100 a month, because I've got things like Fubo for watching cable TV channels and things like that, and of course Disney Plus and Paramount Plus for Star Trek and BritBox for Doctor Who and and stuff like that, but it's easy to forget about these things and to go, I had my Amazon Prime rollover recently and I'd forgotten about it and I was going to get rid of it because of how expensive Prime is getting.
Yeah.
I really don't. I watch some stuff like Reacher was on that, but I don't watch a lot on there. And Prime shipping here is kind of a joke when you live in a rural area. So, but and that's the thing to watch those, talking about, knowing what you're subscribed to. And I know both of you do keep track of your bills and what are coming, what are you spending your money on?
So that's one thing I was going to recommend is one thing I do every year is I have a spreadsheet that I keep, and every year I audit all of my subscriptions. I keep track of everything I subscribe to, whether it's magazines or services, even like our phone services, everything. Mm-hmm. And I what am I paying? What did I pay last year? How has the price increased? What do I not need anymore? What am I still using what am I still paying for that I'm not using? These are important things to do if you want to keep track, because I mean, if you think about it, why do we have less money than our grandparents ever did? Well, because our grandparents didn't have to pay for cable and internet and streaming services and cell phones and all of these things that we must have today. They didn't have those expenses in the past. So it's something to keep track of this stuff at least.
Mm-hmm. And I did not include Prime in what I just told you because we don't watch Prime Video.
Right.
We have Prime for the convenience. And with my husband having a side business, the Amazon truck knows our number real well.
we get lots of packages
what we're
here.
paying. Right. Yeah. That's what we're paying for. Video, the only thing I ever watched on it was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And that was a great show, and it's done now. So everything else on there is kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
So that wasn't included, but you need to have some kind of spreadsheet or some kind of way that you do this, because I'm not even talking. What about all the other subscriptions you have, like Office, Quicken, your VPNs? I have something called Fourscore, which is musicians.
All the app subscriptions that you have. Yes. All that stuff. Keep track, folks.
Greeting card subscriptions, things like that.
Yep.
Well, I have friends all over the place.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and that's things. Everyone will be different. So just a recommendation. Keep track, folks. Keep track.
Yep.
There are even apps. Oh, what is it called? The one with the squirrel.
Bobby.
Yes. There's an app to help you keep track of your subscriptions. And, it can be difficult to you got to go back to your bank statements and your credit card statements, and you got to look and see. So actually keep track as you subscribe or renew, write them down. It helps. All right. So those are our headlines. Let's move on to our picks of the week. And Joanne, why don't you get started? What's your pick this week?
And I had to go back and look to see if anybody had ever picked this before. But for me, it's the lovely and talented Reddit. Reddit is slowly becoming my Google. Now, hear me out. Okay, I know about Reddit. I know about what goes on there. I know some people are very snarky. I know some people are not helpful. But the places I do go, and because I can determine who's snarky and who isn't, they still have cumulatively a wealth of information on many, many of the topics that I use. For example, just bought a new car. I have CarPlay for the very first time. I needed to know how CarPlay worked. So I'm Googling CarPlay. And of course, I'm going back to Apple. I went into Reddit to see if they had a subreddit on CarPlay. They had like 4 of them. And all of a sudden, you can do that. And people were breaking it down. That's what Reddit does. It breaks it down. Person asks one question and you can usually find a similar question to what you're looking for. And if you don't, like I've done with cord cutting, I put it in, and yes, there are the snarky people, but then there are the really helpful people. So I see Reddit as another place other than just going to Google or AI or something like that. And it's something because it has its own app, it's something that I can just go to and say, all right, here's another place to get some information. And I can also help other people as well.
Right.
You may throw tomatoes now. But I still think it's another place.
Reddit has really replaced the old forums. If you remember, like the different forums for different topics or whatever.
News groups.
It's really replaced a lot of that. And it's a good thing. I mean, there are times, looking up something technology wise, you look up like a Linux question. Here we go. Boom. There's the answer. Here's somebody else who's had a similar problem with this game or with this app or with this thing or, different, like you mentioned, cars, different manufacturers have different forums on Reddit, subreddits, and you can find out so much about your vehicles. And hey, I got the check engine light and I scanned it and through this code. Well, that means this, and you need to look at this thing getting replaced, or, oh, that's going to get expensive because your transmission is about ready to go kablooey. It's time to get rid of the car, or whatever it might be.
Well, the fact is Reddit is like the internet. It's got everything. It's including the bad stuff. There are bad sections of it, but it's got, it's got stuff about food. It's got stuff about art. It's got stuff about Catholicism. There's a huge subreddit on Catholicism. I mean,
I haven't gone there.
It's everything. And there's even an SQPN subreddit, which we don't actually use, but someone created it years ago and then handed it over to us to have.
Nice.
And I use it a lot, like you said, Joanne. When I have a question about something, usually somebody else on Reddit has already had the same question, and there's a discussion about it. And I don't have to find, a million other websites. It's all, it could also often always be here on Reddit. So, sure, why not? And there's fun things like, there's a subreddit called Today I Learned, where people just post random things that they learned today, or.
Oh, ask old people advice. There is a subreddit for that. I've read that. When I want something humorous, I'll go back and read that.
There's a subreddit called "Am I the?" I'll use the nice word jerk, and where people post situations and and they're asking people to judge: was I the jerk in this situation, or is this person the jerk in this situation? But usually it's, am I the jerk in this situation? And my wife and I love to read those and they talk about them like, oh my gosh, you are so the jerk. Or
one of my favorites is Redneck Engineering. They post pictures and stuff of different redneck fixes. Like I saw one actually just today where it was like somebody had like their wireless hub hanging from the box. The actual power box on the side of the wall. It was like duct tape together.
I'm sure duct tape it shows up a lot in Redneck Engineering.
Oh yes, yes.
Know that when you go in cord cutters, every other question is about an antenna.
Right.
Every other question is an antenna.
That's the thing is sometimes you have with a lot of these internet forums, you have people asking the same questions over and over, and it's just the nature of the beast. Yep. All right. Thank you very much, Joanne. That's a good pick. Father Corey, what's your pick this week?
So, of course, I like, games, and I like the quick pickup games that you can play for 5-10 minutes, just load it up, play a couple of rounds and you're done. And of course, the old Atari games are wonderful for that, like the old Atari arcade games, 2600 games. And so on Steam, you can get Atari Recharged games. They're different games, old games that they have completely redone, new graphics, new gameplay, the gameplay's similar, but they use like modern controllers instead of the old joystick. Games like Centipede, Asteroids, Berserk, Missile Command, Breakout, Yar's Revenge. If you recognize any of these names, you're going to want this set. And they're all like $10 a piece or less. And you can get them on sale. Like you can usually get the collection. I think I bought the collection for like $50 for 10 of them, so depending on or 8 of them. So when you look, just kind of put them on your watch list. And then when you see that the collection is on sale, buy it, kind of like the Black Friday type thing. What's great too, it was kind of fun too, is, of course, every Steam game has the achievements. You kill this many bad guys and you get an achievement. All the achievements are titles of different bands, songs. So like Queen, Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd. Each game is a different band. David Bowie was one of them. Let's see if I can pull up the achievements here and kind of just mention one real quick. So this was a Centipede. So I mean, and this is Blue Oyster Cult, because one of the achievements is the Reaper. Don't fear the Reaper and the Reaper. So so it's kind of fun to figure out which theme is which. So if you, like I said, if you love the old Atari games, whether it's the console, old 2600 console, or the arcade, check them out. It's a lot of fun. And again, these are great, just pick up and play games.
Well, it's nice too, is they're Windows, Mac, and Steam Deck, so you can use them in any of those. That's really nice. That's awesome. Good pick. I might pick up Breakout because I have great nostalgia for that.
You're tempting me because that's my era. That's the type of games I like.
Yes.
Well, and of course that's a Jobs game, Jaws game, wasn't
that's
it?
Right. I think they did work on that at Atari. Yep. So my pick this week is not a pick; it's a trick. It's a hack that I want to share with all of you, and hopefully make your life a little better. So speaking of self-service gas pumps, a lot of them have these video display advertising. You show up when you start pumping. It turns on and it's loud and it's music and it's repetitive too. Like I have a van, it takes me a while to fill it. So, and it repeats on a loop, and it's just obnoxious. And it's just, sometimes it's just like, I just want the noise, the constant noise of technology to stop once in a while. I just want to pump my gas in peace, So if you look at most of these gas pumps with the video screen, if a lot of them and most of them that I've encountered, I've confirmed this across different brands even. They'll have these series of white buttons on either side of the screen, these white rectangles. Almost always, the second button from the top on the right is the mute button. As soon as that sound starts, you press that, and blessed silence will ensue.
Thank you so much.
And I don't know. I'm like, maybe some of the other buttons will turn it off. I haven't ventured to do that, to try it. I don't think you're going to hurt anything, and I don't think there's any reason for anybody to be mad because it, as far as I know, it unmutes on the next go round. It only mutes it for this particular transaction. So give it a try wherever you are. Let me know if it works for you, or if you discover other useful uses for those buttons, and spread the word. Let's spread some silence.
I'm so glad my little gas station doesn't do that, because I was so mad the previous town I lived in when they started doing those stupid ads, because they're dumb little articles or ads or commercials.
Or the weather report.
Yes. Yeah. Or the Maria Menounos podcast.
Yes,
whatever.
That's who I was thinking of her. Yep.
Like she's
that's
everywhere.
Who I was thinking of.
I'm like, that is entirely not a podcast I'm ever going to subscribe to. Maybe we get Mysterious World on one of those. Never mind. No, we'll just
hey, little Mysterious World shorts. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty good. But Subway, McDonald's, all that sort of stuff's always showing up there. So
go in for your pizza. Don't forget that.
I know. So just get a little respite from the constant barrage of noise in that. All right. So that's it from us this time. We would love to hear what you thought of any part of our discussion this week. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord, and you can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC246. Tech 246. That's the episode number this week. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, on your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, where you should make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, Father Corey Stika, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secrets of Technology.
Thank you, Dom.
Joanne Mercier, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.